For those who may not know who you are, David, I know who you are, but 30,000-foot overview. I know you're a journalist at Post Millennial up in Canada, but give us a brief history. I won't get into childhood.
Well, I spent most of my life in the Canadian military. I was a public affairs officer in the Canadian Air Force. Very proud of my service. Supported every American war, but I don't anymore because I realize where those are going. I worked on Parliament Hill for over 10 years, and I'm now working for the Post Millennial. I've worked for the Daily Caller. I've even worked for CBC News, believe it or not. But I am a journalist, and I'm an independent journalist, and I work for Canadians. Is what I'm doing right now. I work to get the truth out. What I say about my station is we resolve to resist and we give you all the news you need to know. And which is something I don't think CBC or the mainstream media is doing because they're subsidized these days. And most people can't believe this, but most of the media in Canada is subsidized by the Trudeau government.
I need to pull up the meme. It's almost a joke. A month ago, he was saying too many immigrants in Canada. He's going to come after schools and universities and businesses that are employing or exploiting of the immigration loopholes. And now he says we're going to welcome all of the fleeing immigrants from illegals from America under Trump into Canada. Did I misunderstand that, or did he actually say that?
No, that's exactly what he said. But I can tell you this, the Trudeau government is completely ill prepared for the border crisis that's going to occur as a result of putting Tom Homan in charge of being the border czar. There are millions, tens of millions of illegals in the United States who are going to go not to Mexico, but to Canada. And they are going there right now. We are in the midst of a border crisis as I speak, and the Trudeau government is not prepared to deal with it. They might think it's a good thing for them, actually, but I tell you, Justin Trudeau's out of the country right now. He's in Peru, and he's left idiots like Melanie Joly and Chrystia Freeland in charge of the government, and it's embarrassing.
It's wild that even under Biden, Roxham border, Rebel News, Alexa Lavoie was covering it. They had basically tantamount to an open border, but they had nowhere near the amount of crossing from the southern border because they have to go from the south to New York, then get a prepaid bus ticket by Eric Adams to go up to the Quebec border to cross illegally into Canada. Do you know what the immigration, the illegals crossing from the U.S. into Canada situation is right now?
20,000 illegals crossed the border. I did a show on this recently, and it's going to probably compound by 4 or 5 times in the next couple of months because the illegals who came here from Costa Rica, who came here from China, who came here from all over the world thanks to the Biden-Harris open borders, are not going back to where they came. They're going north to Canada. You remember Justin Trudeau said during the last border crisis, come on north. Canada welcomes the refugees of the world. And that's exactly what people are going to remember. No, he hasn't said it again. He's escaped the country right now, actually. He's in Peru today.
Why is he in Peru?
He's at an Asian Pacific conference. He's been gone all week. He put out a message saying the government of Canada is doing no business on Thursday. And people thought, oh, he's proroguing, meaning he's calling off the parliamentary session. Didn't turn out to be that way. He's just ignoring the business of Canada. And this is the way Justin Trudeau conducts business.
So you're independent. You don't ask for any of the federal bailouts or subsidies,
or from Russia or anybody else.
No, you don't even need to. It's like it's going to be the new thing. Like you don't need to be even a Russian asset in order to be a Russian propagandist. If you don't if you criticize the Canadian government, you'll be a Russian asset. In the last couple of years, have numbers been going up? Like, are people fleeing Canadian legacy media to come independent?
I would say it's incredible how people are fleeing Canadian media. CBC is getting fewer views than about the average YouTuber is getting in Canada. I would say it's actually faster than what's happening in the US in terms of the mainstream media, the legacy media dying. Most people in Canada are getting their news now from independent media and new media. Which I'm representing both. I have a YouTube station.
Krayden's right with David Krayden.
Yes, and the Post Millennial, which is new media. These are media that are not getting money from the Canadian government. And I would put, I have no problem putting my compatriots in there as well. I'm talking about Rebel News, media organs that are not getting money from the federal government. Trudeau bought off the media. About 3 years ago, he said, I'm going to subsidize you to give me the news that I want to hear. And it hasn't happened now. But because people are rebelling against that. Canadians are sick of the Trudeau government controlling speech. They want free speech back, and that's why we're here.
It's amazing. I mean, people know about the, was it $600 million bailout back in 2019, which was for print media. And then you had the digital effective subsidizing through government ads, COVID ads. And he makes that joke during one of his dinner speeches, like, this is the type of coverage that buying off the media gets you. And everyone thought it was a self-deprecating joke. The ultimate joke on joke was that the headlines that he showed as to the bad media that he was getting was still whitewashing the Trudeau corruption and scandals, which we're going to get into right now. There are two sort of parallel scandals going on right now. One is the Indian crisis, where there was an Indian Canadian murdered, and it looks like in collusion with from India terrorists or agents. And then there's the China infiltrating the elections or influencing the last two elections scandal that have been having hearings going on that I think I just got news today. Two of the witnesses' testimony is going to be covered up for 99 years.
Let's start with India, because I find that the biggest distraction right now.
Okay, so the Indian scandal, I can give the overview. The broad overview is, I don't know how long ago it was, but a Canadian who was Indian was murdered outside British Columbia, allegedly, if we believe the government. And I don't know which government to believe, because I don't believe any governments. And so when one is saying it's terrorist related and the other one's saying it's not, I don't know which one not to believe. Canadian Indian man murdered. Allegations of that it was sort of a hit because of some Khalistani related agents with India killing this guy. Take it from there.
I don't believe a word of this, to tell you the truth. I don't say that India isn't extremely angry at Justin Trudeau, because he is deliberately putting the Khalistani extremists in positions where they can't be criticized. This must make India very mad. But to believe that the world's biggest democracy is somehow on par with China is, to me, ludicrous. Trudeau is leading with this, saying, watch out for those dangerous Indian diplomats who are sitting around plotting murder and mayhem for their Khalistani enemies. The Khalistanis are the enemy in Canada. These are extremists. These are terrorists who have done terrible things to people. And Justin Trudeau is in their camp right now. Justin Trudeau thinks these are wonderful people. And the Khalistanis do not represent all Sikh Canadians. In fact, the former Premier of BC said recently, don't think that all Sikh Canadians think the Khalistanis are fine. And these are people who are separatists, who want a separate nation inside the Punjabi region of Canada. And they brought their strife and their anger and their chaos and their murder to Canada. And Justin Trudeau has latched on to that, because nobody understands identity politics better than Justin Trudeau. Nobody knows how to exploit identity politics better than Justin Trudeau. And this is what he's done. He has said suddenly India is the enemy.
The idea is the Khalistani movement is, it was a terrorist movement seeking independence of a portion of India. And it was Indian Khalistanis that were pushing this movement for independence of a certain region of India. What is the allegation as to who killed this man and why?
The government of India, literally the government of India, conspired with the killer to kill this individual. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. Let the law decide that. Let the courts decide that. But for Trudeau to expound upon that and to say that all of these Indian diplomats are sitting around somehow creating mayhem and murder for these Khalistani terrorists who are in Canada is, to me, ridiculous. And the fact is, the enemy in Canada is terrorism, no matter where it comes from, the face of terrorism. I saw a video recently where Khalistanis are demonstrating in British Columbia, saying that they control Canada. And it's absolutely outrageous.
So this is from British Columbia,
Surrey, BC, earlier this week. And this video has been shown on X. There it is.
Okay, let's go.
Khalistan, this is our country. You are from Europe. We are owner of this country. Go back to Europe. Go back to England. Support our England people.
So
you go back to Europe. You are not Canadian. We are Canadian.
It almost sounds like a troll.
Country. You are invaders.
These are Khalistani Canadians.
These are Khalistani Canadians suggesting that they are in control of the country, and that Justin Trudeau doesn't get it either. He hasn't gone extreme enough. But Justin Trudeau has empowered these people by suggesting India is the enemy. And you have to remember what started this whole thing. Why did Justin Trudeau on Thanksgiving, just before Thanksgiving weekend, have a news conference and say, India is the enemy. India is the enemy. And the RCMP, which has become like the FBI in the United States, David, the fabled RCMP, the storied RCMP. This is, the organization that's been featured in so many films has become like the FBI right now. It does whatever the government tells it to do. It has not gone after Justin Trudeau for a myriad of crimes that he's been accused of. It has not gone after Justin Trudeau for his cabinet ministers who are being accused of a myriad of crimes. But it suddenly says India is the enemy because Justin Trudeau told us to do so. I believe that very strongly.
Okay, now I understand it. So the idea is the individual who was murdered was in fact a Sikh separatist. Nobody knows why he was murdered, but Justin Trudeau seizes on the murder to allege that the Indian government orchestrated the murder of this Sikh Khalistani separatist in Canada to effectively manufacture a crisis with the Indian government.